Yesterday, I'm looking, and I know a lot of people aren't prepared for baseball, and I'm not here to just jam baseball down your throat, but it's kind of a dead time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, how many people were actually watching Detroit Pistons basketball last night as they faced the Boston Celtics in James Wiseman's debut?
Well, a lot of Warrior fans were
agreed
or following along, but I don't think it took over the basketball world at all.
No, and he did fine. We'll get to that in a little bit, but the Giants came out yesterday, and a lot of them were doing some talking over the last couple of days. The San Francisco Giants, they're all in Arizona. Pitchers and catchers have reported. Logan Webb is doing bullpens. I'm seeing Gabe Kapler repost things on Instagram, and it's just interesting. There's a lot of talk from the Giants. Now, I'm not mad at them talking because it's the beginning of the season, and reporters are finally getting in front of them. And Susan Slusser, who has been covering the Giants for the last couple of years, has been in baseball for, 20 years?
Yeah.
And I don't want to age her or anything like that. I'm not trying to do that. But she's very credible, was the head of the Baseball Writers Association, which votes on the Hall of Fame and whatnot, and covered the A's forever. She put out a tweet and an article yesterday in the San Francisco Chronicle basically saying, and I want to summarize it, Joey Bart is not a lock to have a roster spot this year.
Incredible.
Isn't it?
Incredible.
And I'm thinking to myself, just as a Bay Area sports fan, right? You've got Trey Lance and the 49ers on one side, right? This is the number 3 overall pick. They traded heaven and earth for him. He was supposed to be a game changer. And right now, incomplete is being generous.
Yes.
Some people would say bust. I think that's a little too harsh.
Not. You can't say that yet.
Agreed, but I think a lot of people would say overpay, bust, whatever. And I'll listen to that argument. And right now, they're not wrong. We just haven't seen enough. I think that's the majority of reasonable people would say we haven't seen enough. So he's a top pick that was supposed to, if not change the franchise, elevate the franchise to heights that they could overcome this NFC championship thing and actually hoist the Lombardi. Then you have the Golden State Warriors, where they're already champions, right? They're already champions. And they are trying to develop some younger talent that can get the baton for the new era. Now, we didn't know that they were going to be the reigning champs when they drafted him, but James Wiseman was seen as a beacon of hope.
Right.
I mean, hey, we'll finally have a big man in Golden State. Number 2 overall pick. You know, they could have traded it away either after they executed the trade or before. There was some financial stuff where it didn't have a lot of financial value until you executed the pick. And then you saw a little brief glimpse. I would say incomplete, but also I could also make the argument that people saying that he's a bust and he just doesn't fit their system, they're not wrong either right now.
No. And the main thing is when you look at all these picks, and we've talked about how it's a gamble, and we understand that, but it's how you got to this position.
Yes.
Nobody asked you to trade the picks. Nobody asked you to, I guess, overreact to what Jimmy was or wasn't able to do in the Super Bowl. And you make these decisions. I think out of the 3, when it comes to James Wiseman, Trey Lance, and now Joey Bart, the big swings and hopefully not both misses in James Wiseman and Trey Lance, those are more, I guess, those are more egregious to me.
Why?
Only because football, the Niners have been very open about how we didn't have that much tape on them. So to me, what you're saying is you didn't care about the picks that much, or you thought that you could overcome it. I just don't understand how you give up everything you gave up for Trey Lance, and you can sit up there and we hear reports. I know Tim Kawakami was on. Yeah, they thought Trey Lance would be more athletic. What are we talking about?
Well, I mean,
how can you say something like that when you gave up the picks to get this guy?
I mean, look, guys swing and miss all the time. They did this. They drafted Solomon Thomas. Solomon Thomas can't even play in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like a backup D tackle.
But it's the pick. To me, if you're already there and you swing and miss, that's different than going up and still swinging.
They were
and
at
missing.
12. I mean, like I know that like, whatever Miami has done and parlayed that into it, like you can't worry about that. Look, you can miss a pick in any direction. I mean, the Niners have done if you really look at it, they're only first round picks that have balled. Bosa, and even bald is probably extreme, like Brandon Ayuk. You know, that's about it. So they've missed a lot of picks. The Joey Bart thing, drafted number 2 overall, okay, similar to James Wiseman and Trey Lance. He was seen as somebody who was going to elevate their farm system, right? He was going to elevate everything. And not that he was going to be the heir apparent to Buster Posey, because we all agreed, like, even in real time, like, that's a tall task.
Right. And it's a good point, because when I look at we're going to deal with this when Brandon Crawford is done. Now, Brandon Crawford is a little bit different. But look, he is somebody that's been with the franchise for a very long time. Marco Luciano, back issues. We'll get into a lot of that later. I look at Derek Jeter on the Yankees. And when Derek Jeter was done, who came in next? Didi Gregorius.
Yeah.
Now, Didi Gregorius is not Derek Jeter, but he did a pretty darn good job. All we really needed Joey Bart to be is a Didi Gregorius. Just be good. Just be serviceable, good.
But can we also agree that like the Yankees couldn't wait for him to hit free agency and let him walk?
But at least he gave him what, 3-4 years.
I agree with you.
You know,
but like, there's just varieties of this. So okay, you got Trey Lance with the Niners,
right?
You got James Wiseman with the Warriors, and now you got Joey Bart. And again, Susan Slusser, if you're just tuning in right now, is saying that there's no lock that Joey Bart even makes the team this year, which is shocking to hear. Now, I'm looking at this Giants team, and different than the Warriors, like the Warriors are trying to win a championship.
Yeah.
The Niners are trying to get over the hump and win a championship. The Giants are literally starting from scratch. And so to me, this is like the one where I throw my hands up and I'm saying, really? What? Like,
How?
He can't make this lineup?
No.
You're out here trying out Mike Yastrzemski saying that this 32-year-old journeyman is going to be like a bounce-back candidate, but yet you can't find a way to salvage the number 2 overall pick and make him a competent 220 hitter in Major League Baseball?
Bad, man. And you know what's scary about it? Joey Bart went to college
for 4 years.
So it's not, that's what's scary about it, because when you do draft somebody.
He's a Golden Spikes Award winner, which is the equivalent of the Heisman.
It's basically, the MVP, whatever you want to call it.
I call it the equivalent of the Heisman.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. He comes out of college, so when you draft somebody out of college, you understand they're going to be a little bit older. I think the youngest they would be is if they finish, unless they're a smart guy. Shout out Taj Mari. If you're about 21 years old, maybe 22.
Yes.
Probably 22.
Yes.
So you're 22 years old. All these other kids that are being drafted are 18, 19, and signed even younger if you're international. So
like Luciano, 16 years old when he was signed.
Exactly. You should be somewhat of. You should, if you're not a finished product, it's a couple
Closer
things
to it.
You're supposed to get to the big leagues quicker because you're older.
And Alan, the part of the selling point when they brought him in. Now, Farhan didn't draft him, but to me, I think this goes back to organizational development. I want to have like a bigger conversation about how you develop. But like he's brought in, and part of the reason they're like he called his own games in college.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he's really cerebral behind the plate. You know, and I'm saying to myself, okay, well, that's what people sold me on Buster Posey. Now, Posey's a unicorn, and it's unfair. Similar to Steve Young and Joe Montana, the shadow that Buster Posey will cast on this organization is going to be very difficult for someone to step out into the light on. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's definitely similar. Like Michael Jordan after he left the Bulls, and who is going to be our next MJ for the city? And they're still looking.
Yeah, but
they're still looking.
So this is where I have the most frustration. I will give the Warriors this credit, right? The Warriors realized James Wiseman cannot help us for the now, and where we are in our life cycle as an organization, we need to get anything in return and move off of him, and we need to cut bait now. I'm a big believer in when you know something is wrong, eject out of that plan, cut your losses now, because if you hang on to them, they're only going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to anchor you. That's the way I deal in life, whether it's a relationship, a business transaction, maybe a vehicle. Like we've all bought a vehicle.
Sure.
That sucked.
Yeah.
And trust me, your boy never bought a brand new vehicle until I was almost 35 years old. I've had many lemons, and once you buy a lemon, you know right away, I'm not sinking any more money into this lemon. I got to get rid of it. I'll just get a new vehicle, right? I look at the Trey Lance thing, and I think given the circumstance of what's going on with Brock and the cap hit right now, it's probably not the wisest time to get rid of Trey Lance. Let's see what we have. But maybe next year is the time. Or the reverse happens and he regains the starting job. Feels unlikely, but I don't know. I look at the Giants and I'm saying to myself, the development of Joey Bart, if you knew he wasn't your guy, and you knew he wasn't that good, why has it taken this long to finally come to that realization? Do you understand asset protection? Now he's worth nothing.
Yeah.
Now he can't help you, and he gets you nothing on the open market.
He's stuck in some type of prospect purgatory where he's not even really a prospect anymore because he's played.
Exactly.
Right? He's played a couple of seasons now. And going back to your lemon and cars, once you drive that car off the lot, it immediately loses value.
That's a great point.
And Joey Bart, he got driven off the lot, and he's barely making it around the corner.
But I watched literally almost every single minute of Giants baseball last year. Yeah. I'm addicted to this, all right? And I know a lot of people.
There's some late nights there.
Trust me. I'm well aware. I'm lying in bed like, oh, my God, like falling in and out. But, like, I watched, and look, at times was he overmatched? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. At times defensively, did he look a little lost because him and the pitchers weren't in the same stratosphere in terms of what they wanted to do, approaching certain players? Absolutely. You got the pitch calm now, okay? These pitchers, and Alex Cobb said it yesterday, they are literally going to call their own game. Mm-hmm. This thing that he can't get on board with the pitchers, I don't buy it. Here's the other thing. If Logan Webb, who's one of my young stalwarts who I want to be on the team, if he's got an issue with Joey Bart, all right, I'll listen.
Right.
If Scaflani or Alex Wood
one
or
of
these 30-something journeymen who should be calling their own game to begin with have a problem with them, take a hike. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you got to uproot your entire pitching staff, but what I'm saying is like, come on, man, guys, you got to work with this dude a little.
But Shasky, they're only going to
halfway. Is what I'm saying.
But they're only going to do that if Joey Bart is bringing stuff to the table. Look, we can talk about catching all day long.
Yeah.
If you can't swing that thing, what are we talking about?
This is it. I mean, he struck out 1,000,000 times last year, but he
can't
flashes.
swing it. It's just making contact is the issue.
He can't hit anything on the inside. But like, this is a team that's devoid of power and devoid of any moxie. And it's not like this is like murderer's row. Hey, he can't get onto the Astros. I totally get it. Like Wiseman, he can't get on the court with the Warriors. They're the defending champs. That makes sense.
Yes.
Trey Lance can't get on the field because of, Jimmy Garoppolo and now Brock Purdy's emergence. All right, you know what? I kind of understand it. Mm-hmm. This is a team trying to win a championship. They win double-digit games every single year. The Giants? He can't crack the lineup because Luis Gonzalez is tearing the cover off the ball out in the outfield?
Well, you got nothing to lose because he has no value, so not playing.
Sally's holding back Joey Bart?
There's no way he's going to make the lineup worse. And if he does, just get him out of there.
Exactly.
It's very simple. I think when you look at the three examples that we used, going back to what you said in a bit of a different way, two of them make sense if they didn't end up working out. James Wiseman.
Exactly.
Fit, system.
Wouldn't you also say because of timeline?
Yes.
Of the organization.
That's part of it.
Yes.
Fit, timeline, just everything, age, whatever. That's James Wiseman. You can put Trey Lance in there too. Joey Bart, this is baseball. You're facing a pitcher. It's universal. So that's the weird thing.
It's the most individual sport that masquerades as a team sport that's out there. Would you agree?
I would agree with that.
Because one-on-ones all over the field.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. If we lose, I don't want to lose 10-2, but if I went 5 for 5,
exactly, Alan.
I don't have trouble sleeping at night.
I'm furious leaving the field.
Yes.
But then when I go home and say, I'm like, yeah, boy.
I did my job.
Exactly.
Right? I did my job.
But there is a hit or sit element because I'm seeing people from the 650, and I agree with you. You've got to hit to be in the lineup. Look at where his batting average was and what he didn't hit home runs, but look at where his batting average was relative to the league, the position, and the rest of the team. He fit right in.
Right, it wasn't awful.
You know what I mean?
It's not bad enough to completely lose all value.
Exactly. And so I'm looking at this and I'm saying, and like for as much flack as the A's get as an organization and their baseball principles of who they pay or how they want to allocate what little money that they claim to have or not have, I'll give them this. They move quickly. They move their prospects quickly through the system. If you are good, you play. If you're not, you're gone.
Yeah.
Right? And they do a great job of understanding value and assets. And if a guy won't work for them, they will at least move off them. AJ Puck and what's the other lefty? Luzardo? Was that his name? Luzardo got moved on, and they got money back. Now, I would have liked to have seen them pan out, obviously.
They're a little bit extreme.
But I'll give them credit. They move quickly, and I respect that.
Yeah. The thing about the A's, it's not even just unique to the A's. All these other teams,
I know.
The Dodgers, they get guys out. When is the last time the Giants had a 22-year-old? The idea that it takes so long to get to the big leagues, it's a little ridiculous.
Alan, we'll get into this some more. I want to keep talking because I think there's some similarities between the three, Trey Lance, James Wiseman, and now Joey Bart. All right.